When the streets had started to quiet down after the tragic death of King Von, something unexpected happened. Footage surfaced, raw, natural, and chilling. The final known recordings of King Von have just been leaked, and they're shaking up the internet all over again. These moments, captured just before and after the gunfire broke out, give an entirely new perspective on the final seconds of Von's life. For fans, it's reopening old wounds, and for those closest to him, it's a haunting reminder of how fast everything changed. But the biggest question remains: why was this footage hidden until now? What secrets does it reveal that were kept in the dark until now? King Von's death wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was a pivotal moment that shook the hip-hop world to its core. When the news broke on November 6, 2020, that rising Chicago drill star, King Von, whose real name was David Dickoin Bennett, had been killed outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, it felt as though the whole music industry stood still. King Von had a rapid rise to fame, making waves with his raw storytelling and drill music, capturing the heart of the streets with his authenticity and unfiltered lyrics. But what exactly happened that fateful night? The events have been pieced together from surveillance videos, witness accounts, and police reports. King Von had been at the Opium nightclub earlier that evening, enjoying the night with friends. But as the clock ticked past 3:20 a.m., Von made his way to the Monaco Hookah Lounge in downtown Atlanta, where everything would take a tragic turn. Between 3:20 and 4 a.m., a chain of events unfolded that would end his life and forever change the course of his career. What makes this situation especially complex is the tension between two rival groups that had been brewing for some time. King Von was affiliated with Lil Durk's Only the Family OTF label, while at the same venue that night was Quando Rando, who was aligned with NBA Youngboy's Never Broke Again NBA collective. The rivalry between these two camps was not new, it had been building for a while, fueled by personal and professional disputes. This night, however, would bring it all to a head. Surveillance footage that would later surface online showed King Von dressed in all white, walking up to a man believed to be Quando Rando. The two had words, and then things escalated quickly. King Von reportedly punched Rando, and this physical altercation sparked a deadly chain reaction. The fight didn't end with fists soon enough. Someone pulled out a firearm, and a shootout ensued. It was a tragic moment, one that would leave King Von and another individual, Mark Blakely, dead. 6 people in total were hit, and the chaos that followed was captured on surveillance cameras, providing a haunting visual of that fateful night. The confusion after the shooting only added to the chaos. Early reports suggested that 3 people had died, but those claims were quickly corrected. The confusion surrounding the actual number of victims sparked endless rumors and speculation, making it even harder for those closest to Von to grasp the full reality of what had occurred. Surveillance footage surfaced online, giving the world a chilling look at the violent events. The video shows King Von being helped into a car and rushed to the hospital. Tragically, he would not survive. The narrative surrounding King Von's death has been filled with controversy and differing accounts. According to sources close to Quando Rando, he was simply resting in his car when King Von and his crew approached. What followed, according to this account, was a tense confrontation that led to physical violence. Reports suggest that Rando was caught off guard when King Von allegedly struck him, setting off the deadly chain of events. In this version of the story, the violence wasn't premeditated, it was sparked in the heat of the moment. However, another important figure in this story is Timothy Leaks, also known as LOL Tim, who is said to have been involved in the shooting. Leaks later explained that he acted out of a sense of loyalty, claiming he was simply trying to protect his brother. His defense was built on the idea that he wasn't acting out of malice, but instead out of a protective instinct. Some have then interpreted this as an act of self-defense, while others see it as a tragic mistake that escalated an already volatile situation. Legal experts later speculated that the charges against him were dropped due to Georgia's stand your ground law, which can sometimes protect individuals who use deadly force in self-defense. What followed was a legal rollercoaster. In August 2023, the murder charge against Timothy Leaks was dismissed. This decision only added fuel to an already controversial case. Many fans of King Von felt that justice had not been served, while those on Quando Rando's side saw it as a confirmation of their self-defense claims. The legal drama surrounding the case continued, and it reached a new level of intensity when, in October 2024, Lil Durk was arrested on federal charges, accused of orchestrating a murder-for-hire plot targeting Quando Rando in retaliation for King Von's death. This marked yet another twist in an ongoing saga of violence and rivalry in the hip-hop world, one that was deeply tied to street politics and personal allegiances. But the conflict between King Von's camp and NBA Youngboy's camp didn't stop with Von's death. It only intensified. Diss tracks, online confrontations, and even social media beef continued to stoke the flames of this rivalry. NBA Youngboy released tracks with lyrics that seemed to reference Von's death, while Lil Durk fired back through posts on social media, subtly defending his late friend and responding to the provocations. The tension between these two factions wasn't just about music, it had become personal, tied to deep-seated emotions. loyalty, and street affiliations. King Von's legacy is complicated. For some, he was a talented artist who captured the essence of street life in Chicago with unmatched authenticity. His music resonated with fans because of its raw honesty and storytelling, but for others, his legacy is marred by the violence that followed him. King Von's story is not just one of musical success, but one that reflects the darker realities of the world he came from. The tragedy of his death raises larger questions about the culture of drill music and the glorification of violence within hip-hop. As we remember King Von, his music will continue to live on, but the questions surrounding his death and the unresolved tensions between rival camps remain. The footage, the leaks, and the ongoing legal battles will continue to shape his legacy in the years to come. His story is one of triumph, tragedy, and unresolved conflict, with consequences that extend far beyond just his life. The music world will never forget King Von, but the story of his death serves as a painful reminder of the high stakes in the world of hip-hop, a world where loyalty, rivalry, and street politics can often lead to deadly consequences. In the aftermath of King Von's tragic death, the fallout within the hip-hop community grew increasingly complicated. What began as a dispute between two hip-hop camps, OTF only, the family, and 4KT NBA Young Boys camp, turned into a public spectacle that no one could have predicted. The deeper you look into the events surrounding King Von's passing, the more you realize how deeply personal the conflict had become. It wasn't just about music anymore. This was a story about loyalty, betrayal, and a life that was cut short, far too soon. King Von had been rising rapidly in the drill scene, earning a reputation for his storytelling ability, vivid lyricism, and raw authenticity. His breakthrough tracks, like Crazy Story and Took Her to the O, established him as a dominant force in the world of drill music. But his life was also shaped by the streets of Chicago, the very environment that his music reflected. Von's career embodied the tension between artistry and the harsh realities of street life. This juxtaposition made his music incredibly relatable to his fans, but also drew attention to the dangerous environment he was a part of just days before his death. King Von had been in high spirits, celebrating the release of his album Welcome to a Block, which had dropped on October 30th, 2020. The album had been a significant milestone in his career, and the future seemed bright for the 26-year-old rapper. He was on the verge of breaking through to a wider audience, his music growing in popularity, and his influence in the drill scene solidifying. But just days after this celebration, his life would be tragically cut short in an incident that would leave fans, friends, and the industry at large devastated. The tragedy sparked endless speculation and debate. Some believed King Von's death was the inevitable outcome of the ongoing tensions between the rival factions, while others saw it as an isolated incident, a moment where things simply escalated too far. As more details about the night of November 6th emerged, the narrative became more complicated, with conflicting reports about what had transpired. Surveillance footage showed the immediate aftermath of the shooting, further fueling the conversation and making it impossible to ignore the raw reality of the violence that took place. The legal fallout from King Von's death didn't stop with Timothy Leaks, also known as LOL Tim, who was arrested in connection with the murder. As the case unfolded, the complexities of self-defense laws, gang affiliations, and the larger street politics at play were brought to light. The dismissal of murder charges against Timothy Leaks in August 2023 only deepened the divide between those who saw the events as a tragic accident and those who believed it was an act of self. The decision to drop charges was a controversial one, with many feeling that justice had not been served. The argument over whether the shooting was premeditated or an act of self-defense remains a point of contention, leaving a bitter taste in the mouths of Von's fans and loved ones. Meanwhile, the rivalry between OTF and 4KT continued to simmer, with both sides using social media as a platform to air grievances and take subtle jabs at each other. Songs were released, diss tracks were fired back and forth, and the tension in the air grew thicker. NBA Young Boys camp released tracks that seemed to reference King Von's death, while Lil Durk, a prominent figure in OTF, used his own platform to honor Von's legacy, posting pictures and captions that reflected his grief and frustration. The feud between these two factions became more than just a rivalry. It became a representation of the larger issues within the music industry, where street politics and personal relationships collide with professional aspirations. As the years passed, the tragic events of November 6, 2020, continued to resonate within the hip-hop community. King Von's music, like that of many artists who are taken too soon, became even more iconic in his absence. His authenticity and raw storytelling gave voice to experiences that many in the industry could relate to but were often too afraid to speak about. He had become a symbol not just of drill music, but of a lifestyle that many young people in the streets looked up to. For them, King Von was more than just a rapper. He was a figure of resilience, survival, and truth, in a world where those things are often hard to come by. But the tragedy of his death also served as a reminder of the dangers that come with that lifestyle. As the months turned into years, King Von's legacy was dissected, debated, and discussed. His loyal fans continued to hold him up as a hero, celebrating his music and what he represented. However, for others, his death served as a painful reminder of the consequences of street life, how quickly things can spiral out of control, and how one moment can change everything. In addition to the ongoing discussions about his legacy, King Von's family and friends have had to deal with the very real aftermath of his death. His sister, in particular, has been outspoken about the impact of his passing, both on her family and on the larger hip-hop community. In a recent livestream, Von's sister claimed that her brother's relationship with Untold, a well-known rapper and social media personality, was based on clout rather than genuine affection, sparking a wave of reactions online. Some fans rushed to defend Untold, while others questioned the motives behind the sister's comments. This added yet another layer to the complicated narrative surrounding Von's death, highlighting the tension that still exists within his circle of loved ones. Despite all the controversy, one thing is clear: King Von's influence will not be forgotten. His music lives on, and his story continues to inspire discussions about authenticity, loyalty, and the complexities of living a life in the spotlight. His tragic death, though, serves as a stark reminder of the very real consequences of the lifestyle he rapped about. The lines between art and reality are often blurred in the world of hip-hop, and King Von's legacy is proof of that. Looking ahead, Von's musical legacy is poised to continue growing. The upcoming King of Drill album, expected in 2025, will likely introduce his music to new audiences and further cement his place in hip-hop history. But as the industry moves forward, the unresolved issues surrounding his death and the ongoing conflict between OTF and 4KT remain. The legal and social ramifications of King Von's death will continue to unfold, with potential implications for not only his family but also for the entire hip-hop community. As of now, the conflict that King Von was a part of has yet to be resolved. The cycles of violence, street politics, and ongoing rivalries that shaped his life and ultimately took it remain a part of the hip-hop world. His death, like that of many other young artists before him, has become a symbol of the dangers of living a life defined by loyalty, betrayal, and the streets. But for his fans and his loved ones, King Von's story is far from over. His music will continue to speak for him, and his legacy will live on in the hearts of those who were touched by his talent, his truth, and his authenticity.